For 9 years, Bahia Amawi has been helping kids in Texas who are disabled, autistic, or speech impaired. She is an accomplished speech pathologist and a mother of 4. She was born in Austria. She's been living in the United States for 3 decades now. She's also now unemployed. That's right. No longer allowed to practice her craft for the state of Texas. And the reason is she would not sign what many say amounts to a loyalty oath to Israel, promising to never boycott Israel or join causes that could bring about economic harm to Israel in any way. The law that I'm describing passed the Texas House of Representatives 131 to nothing. And it passed the Senate 25-4. Can you say overwhelming? We figure you'd want to know more about this case. We certainly did. And joining us now is RT America's Rachel Blevins, who's been working all day diligently to put this story together for us. Tell us, first of all, about the case of this teacher, this woman who's been in the United States for 30 years now. Who is she?
Right, so this is a speech pathologist who is speaking out because she says that she was a victim of this law. She's actually filed a lawsuit against the school district where she worked for nearly a decade, but she said that whenever it came time to renew her contract, all of a sudden she found this new clause which stated that she was not allowed to boycott or to take part in any actions that would economically harm Israel. And she said that she was against that clause not because she's against the Jewish people, but because she feels that signing away her rights to criticize the Israeli government really does violate her First Amendment rights.
It's curious, isn't it, that Texas is actually taking action on a law that really, by its nature, has very little to do with Texas per se, correct? I mean, I understand they're even actually doing lists of people who may have had decisions that might be construed as anti-Israel in the past? Are they really doing that?
Right, so that's actually part of the law that they passed that got so much support that was passed in Texas last year. In addition to that, they mandated that the Texas Comptroller's Office create this sort of blacklist that had all of these companies and contractors that they deemed as either actively boycotting Israel or wanting to boycott Israel. And the companies and contractors that are on that blacklist, now they're not allowed to work with state agencies, so they're being boycotted essentially as well.
You're a journalist, right? You're a journalist working at a major network. You're filing this story for us. As a reporter, you know, we go through journalism school, we, you know, understand all the protocols of our business. We're essentially doing a story here that is about the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America that guarantees us all the right to be able to speak our mind, correct?
Right.
You're doing this story tonight, and kudos to you for doing it, and you're doing an outstanding job with it. Why isn't this story being done everywhere? Why aren't other reporters covering this story?
Well, I think that's a really great question, and that's a question that viewers should be asking whenever they look at the mainstream media. And I think it goes even deeper for me because I'm originally from Texas, and I know that Texans are very serious about their state. So they should want to know whenever legislation like this is being passed. But we haven't seen a lot of media coverage of it, and this is something that was passed a year ago. Yet we're only just now hearing about it because it affected this teacher, and she's filing a lawsuit and wants to raise awareness about it.
You know, what's really interesting is what you just said. As a Texan, man, Texans are proud, right? Longhorn
Absolutely.
State, Texas first, the whole 9 yards, right? Here is a law that does not propose to punish people for criticizing Texas.
Right.
Or to criticize the United States of America, or to boycott Texas, or to boycott the United States of America. It is going to criticize you if you live in Texas and criticize a foreign government. Huh?
Exactly. Well, and I think that creates an even bigger problem because, okay, maybe it just starts with Israel, but what if states start passing laws for other close U.S. allies, like, say, Saudi Arabia? What kind of precedent are we setting with this one where some people may look at it and say, oh, no, I'm a big fan of Israel, so this law is no big deal? Well, then what if it happens to a country that they don't like or that they want to be able to criticize?
Exactly. Great reporting. Rachel Blevins, as usual. Smart stuff. Stay on top of this story. I think a lot of people want to know more about this. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Let me bring in Andrew Dalack. He is a criminal defense attorney who is active in defense of Palestinian causes and other causes, by the way. Look, before you even go into this, I know you're probably going to want to come at this from the Palestinian perspective or from either the Israeli perspective. You know how I want to come at this? I want to come at this from an American perspective. This law seems to be wholly un-American. I mean, First Amendment, right? What does it say? We have the right to assemble, the right to petition our government, the right to criticize our government. It doesn't say, except in the cases of Israel, does it?
No, it doesn't, and thanks for having me on. I want to clarify that coming at it from the American perspective or from a Palestinian perspective are not mutually exclusive. And here, you know, this Texas statute, Texas, I think it's 2270 is the statutory code, but it is classic viewpoint discrimination. I'm a criminal defense lawyer. First Amendment, law is not necessarily my expertise, but on its face, this seems to be patently unconstitutional. It's compelling this woman, Miss Amawi, to take a position that she doesn't believe in as a condition of her continued employment, and it's repugnant to American values.
Well, exactly, and you know what? I don't blame Israel in this case. I know a lot of people are going to be watching this and saying, oh, they're doing an anti-Israel piece. This is not an anti-Israel report. As a matter of fact, I give Israel kudos for being good proponents of their cause. They're pushing their cause. They're saying respect us, love us, like us. Good for them. You know who the real culprits seem to be here? Just looking at this as a journalist and as an American? The U.S. politicians who've completely capitulated our principles, our ethics, our laws. I mean, aren't they the sellouts here?
I think they're definitely the sellouts, but, you know, Israel and the pro-Israel lobby in the United States can't get away scot-free here. I mean, this is the reason why upwards of, I think, 24 states, like you mentioned, have passed anti-BDS legislation, boycott-divestment-and-sanction legislation in their states to punish people who take positions that support Palestinian human rights and that want to see Israel held accountable.
But let me just stop it for a minute. So what you're saying, did the Israeli lobbyists put a gun to their head and said, you have to vote for this policy, this law that violates your own constitution? You have to do this. How did they do that?
No, I don't think anybody put a gun to their head, but, you know, the way that the pro-Israel lobby in this country operates is that it puts pressure on politicians. It uses elections, it uses campaign financing, it uses propaganda to associate people who sympathize or empathize with the Palestinian cause and paints them as terrorists. It scares people. So I'm not exactly sure of the internecine details as to how this statute passed in the Texas legislature, but what I can tell you, and based off of what I understand about Ms. Amawi's case, is that it's very cruel. If you think about it this way, what the Texas state is saying to Ms. Amawi is, you are the only qualified Arabic speaker in your district to work with children who have autism and developmental issues. And you cannot fulfill your mandate. You cannot help these children unless you take a political position that is contrary to your values, contrary to your identity. That is repugnant. That is a cruel thing to do to somebody, and it's a cruel thing to do to these children. And what it says to these children, these Arabic-speaking children, is it says, your lives do not matter if you espouse or take a particular political position.
You know what, Andrew Dalack, good conversation. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but obviously this is going to be something we're going to be keeping an eye on because it's the kind of story I think most Americans want to know about. We thank you, sir, for your time and your expertise. Okay?
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.